Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Good. All right. Good evening and welcome to the November 13th, 2023 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. All members of the Board of Supervisors are in the room this evening. There is no one coming in remotely. If there is anyone from the public who wish to remotely throughout the meeting and comment, certainly you can that as well. Okay, if you please rise and join me in saying the pledge to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are agendas in the back of the room. If you haven't picked one up, please feel free to do so. There's also a sheet back there for you to sign your name. We do need that for public record. So if you haven't done that, please do that before you receive it. Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is public comment for non-agenda items. So if there's an item here on the agenda, please wait to speak to that. But anyone here would like to approach the Board of Supervisors on non-agenda items? One line item as well. Okay. Thank you. Item number 4 is the consent agenda. We have 4A, approval of the November 13th, 2023 Board of Supervisors meeting agenda. 4B, approval of the minutes of the Monday, October 16th, 2023 regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. 4C, approval of financial security release for ESH 2090 Creek Hill Road. 4D, approval of financial security release High Properties 1740 to 1770 Hempstead Road. 4E, approval of financial security release for Walton Properties 2109A Old Philadelphia Pike. 4F, time extension for Township Review and Action, Chick-fil-A 2467 Lincoln Highway East. 4G, approval of financial security reduction, S834 Willow Road. 4H, time extension for Township Review and Action, Smoketown Airport 311 Airport Drive. 4I, time extension for Township Review and Action, Millstream Motel 170 Eastbrook Road. And 4J, the approval to pay invoices from all funds for a total of $708,446.41. There are several items of note. $40,713 to Susquehanna Municipal Trust for workers' comp coverage. $33,565 to Vigilant Solutions for 2 police vehicle cameras and annual software service renewal. And $10,244.56 to Axon Enterprise for 15 police tasers and accessories. Are anyone here comments on any of those items that are part of the consent agenda?
For clarity, I made an error on the bills. It's not vehicle cameras, it's license plate readers to police license plate readers. So
or Vigilant Solutions to police vehicle license plate readers. Okay, thank you, Ralph. Appreciate that.
They are cameras in a sense.
yeah, but more than that.
Yes, understood.
No, get it. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Ralph. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Okay, motion by Corey, second by Ethan. Questions, concerns?
Yeah, question on F then.
Or F, go ahead, Mike.
So approvals on the consent agenda would include all but F
Include all of it.
potentially. I'm a discussion point.
So if the board approves the consent agenda as presented and 4F is there, time extension for township review and action, the items associated with that would be part of that extension, Mike.
Approve all the extensions.
This would be to approve all the extensions, yeah.
I think we have an issue with that one.
What's that?
I think we have an issue with approving that one. We should discuss.
Okay,
You can get 540 days. Previous request.
We have any information from Chick-fil-A on what it's like.
Just has to do with review comments and their ability to respond and prepare a plan that complies with the ordinance.
and so their delay or their lack of response, is there something driving that? Is there a disconnect with their attorney? Was there? Yes.
They're an out-of-state permit organization that's trying to move forward a land development plan. So they have no connection to how things work in East Lampeter Township,
Pennsylvania for that matter.
Pennsylvania for that matter.
There's been examples of that so far. It's not just us.
Would you review what happens if we do not approve it?
If you don't approve the time extension, then their plan is essentially denied. And they would have to start over in the process whenever it is that they're prepared to present an application that complies with the ordinances.
So in other words, they've had all this other time to work on it. If they had to start over, they should be relatively close to getting it done. We say they have to start over.
Yes.
Perhaps denying it nudges them to say, hey, guys, there's something going on. Like, or it just puts them on the back burner. They don't come back.
Yeah, I think they'll probably come back. But staff essentially has been holding their hand to keep their plan alive. And, candidly, we're tired of it.
Have you talked to the local owners or franchisees? I know it's not a ship. The local general manager.
I'm told we have not. I have not personally, and staff has not.
So, Mike, did that answer your questions?
Yeah, it's, I'm without a lot of experience with extensions that have gone that long. I don't think I've seen any that long since in my 2 years here. I mean, so I don't know if there's consideration to amend the amendment not to approve that.
So we'd have to, I could ask Corey if he wants to amend his motion. Ethan would have to,
We'd have to-
second or deny it.
Or you just do a quick vote, everyone vote no, and then we run.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're gonna need the motions on the table. It's been seconded.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, Ethan did.
Okay.
Discussion, closed discussion, further discussion, none? Okay, good, okay. All right, so, all those in favor? No?
No.
Yeah. Those opposed? Yes. We're opposed to the motion. Yeah, okay, there you go. All right, so now the motion fails. And so now we have the consent agenda. We read through all the items, all of the individual items of the consent agenda. There has been a question come up from Mike about 4F. Mike, would you like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we consent agenda A, B, C, D, E, G, H, I, and J, leaving out F. I'm sorry, voting not to approve F.
Yes.
In the consent.
Okay, Ethan second. Okay, motion by Mike, second by Ethan. Consent agenda, removing item number 4F.
I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be helpful to have some language that indicates that their time extension is not being approved and the plan is therefore being denied.
Well, I think I'm going to take a motion, separate motion on 4F.
Okay.
Is that, that'll work? Achieve what you're trying, yeah, okay. Okay, it's a consent agenda, removing item number 4F, okay? Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Okay, thanks. Okay, we have item number 4F. Mike, would you like to recommend a motion?
I'll make a motion, that a time extension for township review and action for Chick-fil-A 2467 Lincoln Highway East be denied.
That's probably,
Permit denied. And what's helpful?
I think it's helpful to actually say not only is it time extension request denied, but also the plan itself is also being denied.
Motion to deny the time extension request and therefore the request is denied.
the plan is the plan itself. The plan is there. Okay, motion by Mike, second by Roger. Okay, questions? Okay, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thanks, Mike, for addressing that. Okay, number 5, old business, 5A. We've got, we had some discussion, obviously, staff went back to tweet and has in front of us a updated proposed policy in reference to disputed utility billings. If we all have a chance to take a look at it, questions, Ralph, you did. Thank you. You did from our last meeting. Yeah, tweaked it.
All the comments that we meeting, hopefully that is accurate and that it meets the board's wish.
Any comments on the last one that met your expectations? Motion?
Motion to approve the East Lampeter Utility Bill Dispute Policy, Resolution number 2020-01.
Is there a motion by Roger, second by Mike?
Not really a resolution, those
Policy.
That sentence at the top? No?
yeah, that just reflects else's.
Motion by Roger, second by Mike. All right, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Yeah, motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you to Ralph and Mr. Smucker for working through that.
Thank you, Mike. Yep. Okay, 5B, a resolution in reference to the road right-of-way dedication, 1891 Windy Hill Road. Is there any here from 1891 Windy Hill Road? No, it's okay.
So this is a minor plot add-on, I believe, plan that was done earlier this year. As these plans do, they show the additional right-of-way along the road, existing road frontage, 89 feet wide along Windy Hill Road to the township line. And so they're offering it for dedication as indicated on the plan that they would. Acceptance by adoption.
Make a motion to accept the resolution regarding right of way dedication 1891 Road.
Okay, motion by Corey, second by Roger. Questions? Hearing none. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. New business, item number 6A, action plan 2319, property 1929 LaSalle Avenue. Someone here on behalf of I.
Good evening, Supervisor. My name is Ryan Freeze, with RGS Associates. Here with also my fresh from High Properties.
to discuss the 1929 LaSalle Avenue Stormwater Management Plan. What I'm about to hand out is just a quick excerpt. That's the existing condition plans, the layout plan, and the copy of the township letter copy of a letter that was sent to the township. Reviewing what I'm about to discuss in regards to the final comments. The revised letter is the comment letter from a letter. Excess parking spaces. Different dimensions of the. We did receive an updated letter as of this morning, November 13th. We've been through two comment letters at this point. We're down to the administrative comments related to utility easement agreement, establishing financial security. The last item here is we'll dive into a little bit deeper into excess parking spaces. For the zoning one, section 22-160 F4, as stated in the comment letter, residential uses of parking space percent of the minimum requirement specified under said section of the zoning ordinance. Any increase over the maximum total number of permitted off-street parking spaces shall be reviewed and considered by the Board of Supervisors. In that letter in front of you, we go through current parking space condition. Has 42 spaces. This shows the industrial with the proposed layout. The requirement again is the industrial use is 1 parking space for 2 employees. New tenant anticipating having a larger shift to 15 employees, thus requiring a 25 parking space minimum. As far as the percentages as they relate, the current condition of spaces yields 168% above the minimum requirement, and with the proposed condition yields a 248% increase. Based off of our parking count, 50 spaces per the maximum shift, as well as 12 spaces for the tenant's business. So that is our piece for 62. Approval.
Anything else, Brian?
This other than question.
Okay, right. So the DMA letter of August 23rd. And then the presentation on the parking staff. Any thoughts about it?
Just that we did have a new letter from DMA that's dated with today's date. So other than the zoning item, just addressing the security and the operation problem with. The only remaining issues on the November.
Thank you. Okay, questions, gentlemen. Understanding that the justification of applicant is forward. 50 employees. Create a parking spot for each of those employees because it's a shift, I'm assuming. And then potential for 12 spaces for the tenant's going to have 20 vehicles, other vehicles at the private property. Okay. What? Concerns?
To accept the stormwater management plan 23-19 for high properties. at 1929 Style Avenue, including the request for additional parking spaces and the financial security amount of $126,747. Stated on the DMA letter, the submission of the operation and maintenance plan to address the requirements of section 603.
We got everything.
Okay, motion by Mike, second by Corey. Questions? Questions, Ryan? Anything? Okay. All right, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Appreciate that. Thanks. Good luck, guys. Okay, moving on. Item number 6B, the Stormwater Management Plan 23-20, Dutch Wonderland, 2249 Lincoln Highway. Dutch Wonderland, welcome.
Gentlemen. Excuse me. Reference to Dutch Wonderland, I'm Rex Clark Surveying and Engineering. I'm here with James Paulding, Dutch Wonderland General Manager. In reference to EMA's November 2nd review letter. Do we have that in front of you? Excuse me, complaint number 4. So there were a couple of issues. We've addressed their comments back and forth with Scott Miller. Those plans would be resubmitted, I believe, this week. There were 2 zoning issues that needed to be dealt with. The zoning, the stormwater reference that we wanted to discuss with you guys. So between the owner and ourselves, we have decided to avoid the zoning issues and revise our stormwater management facilities. So the issues were on the plan. If I could refer to the plan on the board, retaining wall of the new drive feature. Right. You should see the storm line that would dissect that retaining wall. Okay, so that line is being revised to be rerouted to the east, to the existing inlets to the east. Thus would remove the building requirement of stormwater easement with the relationship to the retaining wall.
Okay.
So that would be rerouted. The second area in relationship to that particular, there's a storm line that goes between a proposed back facility or same area. That's correct. And you see the storm line that's proposed between 2 buildings. So between the architect, the owner, and ourselves, that building, that's number 2 right there, bathhouse by code is not required at this point. So the owner is considering removing that bathhouse, which then would allow us to do the regrading of that area, thus would eliminate the issue of the zoning requirement of the stormwater easement in relationship to those building walls. In the event that the owner does want to keep the new bathhouse and that is still on the table, they have not eliminated that. This has just been fresh this week, so you have to pardon my careful consideration of the building slide, thus giving us the ability to move the storm line 10 feet from the existing building and 10 feet from the proposed building.
When you say building slide, you mean the one that's existing towards the state or?
She is on structure. So what they are considering is the retaining wall south, and then also moving that particular bath facility to the south, thus allowing us to move that storm line to the south, maintaining the 10 feet on either side of the storm line to avoid the zoning requirement. They're choosing to do that rather than go to zoning to ask for variances on the zoning. Those are the two things that has not been addressed. Everything else has been addressed in DMA's.
So items number 1 and 2 under zoning Rex is specifically what we're talking about.
That's correct.
And
That's correct.
and it sounds like you've got a plan and intention to address both of those items you just talked about.
That's correct. We have some decisions to make with the ownership to decide what they want to do with that building. But I wanted to make sure that you guys were up to speed with where the project is currently at.
Okay. Staff questions about that? No.
No, I think you could still do a conditional approval if that's what the board wants to do.
Okay. Okay. Based upon the presentation that Clark just made.
Yeah, I think you probably still would want to make it subject to all the comments in the letter. And then, as revisions are made to the submissions,
We'll address those 2 comments in there.
Colin can confirm that there aren't any zoning issues anymore.
Okay.
Right. Which are the biggest hurdles. So the others are on minor.
Under stormwater management, Rex, all those notes that are there. Cost estimate, all those notes, you're good with those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah. He's reviewed everything, and I think we're ready to go back to him. This is the zoning issue.
All right. Rex, any more comments on the other items?
Not from us. Do you have anything else?
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Like motion for conditional approval plan subject to review comments November 2nd, DNA's letter of November 2nd.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Corey, second by Roger. Questions? Yeah. All right, those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. Appreciate that, guys. Thank you. Good luck with the season coming up. A lot of people.
Yeah, our best Halloween that we've had on for visitation. And we start Christmas on Saturday.
Hopefully about 65 degrees. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
Right?
If you take that, well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck. Keep it up. You're a great neighbor. Okay, guys, 6C. We have a comment letter to Laycock Township in reference to the rezoning of land from ag to the Burdenhand district. Comments, questions, Ralph, Colin.
I guess I'd ask Colin to come up and help the board with this discussion. I guess I would say finally received information from Laycock Township about this map change. You may recall that they had done a text change not too long ago, which added language to their ordinance. I don't know if they're calling it the Burdenhand Village or not, but that's what it is. It's named after East Lampeter's Burdenhand Village zoning information. So now they want to, or it's proposed to change the map to expand the village using that text language that's now part of their ordinance. So Colin crafted this letter. If you just want to tell the board what's in it.
Sure. So all the areas kind of highlighted are the proposed
zone change from C1 or ag to Birmingham. And East Lane Peter, staff is okay with most of them except for A, which is currently zoned ag. And the reasons behind that are that it's off of Route 340, does not have direct access onto Route 340. And East Lane has concerns that, the village is going to expand beyond Route 340 and it will impact the character of that area. It is rezoned to Vernon.
Where the cursor is 340.
That's 340A. How would you get to A?
Well, North Ronks Road.
There's a road there on
North Ronks.
Lake Hawk.
So what? So Church Road,
We had a very similar discussion regarding parcel 12 about 6 years ago.
We did. We had a number of discussions of those properties.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And whether or not they should be rezoned.
Yeah.
And they are in the hand zone.
Is that the same issue?
One of the issues we discussed.
Off of Gibbons, 12.
12 is off
Beechdale.
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 That 12 went to Bird Hand zoning district is, if you remember, the owner has the ag curtain business. And that was one that fit one of those manufacturing on a township roadway, small incubator business that was growing.
But there's nothing on Church. What is parcel 1, 2, and 3 on Church?
I believe they are either residences or small farm ag property.
No ag business. No, I mean, there's probably something,
There may be
not like
there may be a small
Cabinet maker and
cabinet maker or something like that, he said.
I think there's a farm stand on one of them.
tool machine shop.
So if we were to communicate our intentions or our support or our lack of support or our interests, or what do we believe Upper Lake Hawk's willingness to discuss that is?
Well, it's Lake Hawk Township, and candidly, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they go ahead with it despite this comment, but based upon what we see happening in Bird Hand and the village as it is, staff does have a concern about the change in character out there that this would likely result in.
Yeah, staff, we sent a similar letter for their text amendment, we had numerous comments, much of the same concern, and we did not receive a response.
What is Upper Lake Hawk saying about this?
I have not
Not
discussed
seen.
it, or I don't think they must have discussed anything with Upper Lake Hawk related to this.
Okay. Thoughts, gentlemen?
I don't have a strong opinion that parcel A should not be included. You can see the case for and against. It's going to incrementally develop out that way. It's just whether they make the change now or in 10 years. But I think Beechdale and along the Amtrak line is going to get developed mainly along Beechdale. So I might soften the wording slightly on this to we recommend or opposed to strongly support, but I'm also not 100% opposed to our current letter as drafted. I'm pretty sure Lake Hawk Township is going to do it anyway. Has already done it.
I don't believe they've actually voted on this yet.
So our preference would be to align it with
currently where our line goes, but I also see current expansion of Beachdale Road. I see Beachdale becoming more very handy.
Mike, Roger? Thoughts?
I would go along with Ethan's comments.
Which would be, yes, comment on it, but it maybe not as strongly worded.
So this would be something we've been asked before, it's simply to review and comment.
Any surrounding townships get the opportunity to review comment on any zoning changes.
And one thing, Mike, that Ethan was said earlier, in the past, we've been working with property owners in and around this community to strengthen or to deter changes or changes in a way that we think could continue to develop the character of the village. Yeah, you want to show them that one, Ethan?
Yeah.
And how many village districts do we have? Birmingham, Bronx.
Well, it's general, residential, commercial, Ferdinand. Those are the names of the villages.
Okay. And years ago, John Smucker and George Desmond had been working to rehab and improve properties along 340. Were associated with their businesses, visitor businesses. There were times they were petitioning for bus stops and pedestrian crossings and a number of things looking to enhance the village. I think they even proposed street lighting at one point or something on poles. And the intention of the argument was, hey, the character of this village is what makes it strong. And we had meetings. There were quite a lot of people here at different times who were asking us to work on strengthening the village character, going to PennDOT. We were trying to figure out if PennDOT would let us do certain things along 340 to once again strengthen the village character. So all of that's just background.
So when I've heard things of a streetscape project of sorts, that has all been just in the idea phase?
Yes, there was a conceptual plan that was presented very long time ago.
For me.
And
Yeah, it was definitely before you guys.
I would say there's a very small percentage of that which has been implemented. But a lot of those concepts are often mentioned by Mr. Smucker. But haven't seen any real delivery on any of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to clarify. There's no legal requirement that the township make comment.
Right. But they have to share it, right? I mean, is that?
We asked them for information about it. They
Okay.
provided it to us. It's sort of been tradition
Yeah.
that municipalities do that, but there's no legal obligation for them to ask and no obligation for us to comment.
I would support Ethan. Ethan's, saying, hey, Sunny letter, we have an interest obviously in what's going on in Birdhand, but maybe, we don't have to be as strong on it. Hey, listen, to maintain the Birdhand district as we had envisioned, we would want to see, zoning changes maybe a little bit tighter, maybe not out that far. But, we're not opposed to the Birdhand district.
Well, no, I mean, the language that they used for their text amendment is essentially our ordinance. So, that sort of consistency is a good thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, we can,
Okay. All right.
make efforts to soften the language.
Good.
Is there any specific sentence that is moved? Following,
Strongly supports jumps out. Right, just move it towards a, our suggestion is keep it contiguous with 340. Nation.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't think you're going anywhere, are you? Stay right there. The next one is you. 60, review and discussion in reference to proposed technical amendments to the zoning ordinance. I don't know that you need to go through each one of these.
No, I'll very.
One of those or not.
Yes, for you is a list of proposed zoning changes that staff has come up with over some time. Yes, I will skip the minor ones. Most are minor. Formatting errors, spelling errors, missing a word or a letter here or there. I'll start with number 4 under Article 3 in the Ag Zone. We're proposing to remove the requirement for an accessory structure over 120 square feet to be 15 feet behind the principal building. And this is because we have numerous barns that are in front of the house on larger properties where the setback is so great that it's just to make somebody go to the zoning hearing board for such just we don't think that's necessary. So yeah, the front setback would be the same, 40 feet. So we thought that was good. Bumping down to number 5. This will span Articles 3 through 20. Accessory structures on corner lots. Corner lots are difficult for the homeowner because they have 2 front yards, which means they can't have anything in the front. So on 2 sides, you can't have sheds, pools, anything. So we're limiting the need for this to be 15 feet behind the front. So they could have an accessory structure up to the house, or if the house is set back greater than the front yard setback, it may be in front of it. So this just gives them a little extra room to play with the situation. Number 8, Article 21, the floodplain overlay district. Currently have in there that pervious pavement is allowed. We've seen and heard that outside of the floodplain, within the floodplain, floods, it gets clogged. The maintenance is just very, very difficult. So we're proposing to remove that. We just don't think that it'll function properly.
So removing the requirement that someone put pervious in the option.
Yeah, correct.
Remove the option.
for them to use pervious in those circumstances.
So I'm thinking of the old East of Eden pub. With that whole thing, as part of that, yeah. Yes, or somebody, no, somebody, I forget who bought that. Okay, they changed it from a restaurant to a loft. We saw the pervious requirement, they had to put all that in there. So what would be, I mean, isn't it slightly better than impervious?
This just wouldn't count, right? Like,
Well, they wouldn't have this option.
right, exactly. Yeah.
I'm saying,
Yeah.
It's certainly better than, however, we're not confident that people can maintain it properly. The maintenance on it is so frequent, so intense that we're not confident that it can be properly maintained, even with an O&M, regular inspections and such. It's just you get 1 or 2 floods, it's clogged and it may be shot from here.
Yeah, so we essentially give credit for using pervious in those circumstances when reality is after a short period of time, it's no longer pervious. So the credit's already gone and it's not functioning the way that it was intended to function, and it can't just because of the conditions. So I think for me anyway, that becomes the issue.
Is there any data on that or just what we think?
Based on discussions we've had with engineers, other engineers, our engineer, yeah, that's where we came up with that.
mean, they're all saying, hey, look,
They're very skeptical of it.
you know, our profession is saying,
Yeah.
it was a great idea, but we don't think that these things can be maintained in a way to.
They haven't produced any memo or white paper or.
No, I don't.
Their collective gut.
From what they've seen, yes.
We actually had to have a different surface put in at the waterfront. Because the first surface failed after the first flood. And so they had to put in a second surface there. Now, in cases like the family chiropractor, you know, down here on Old Philly Pike, he has pervious pavement and that functions perfect there, right? Oak Park has pervious pavement over here. Functions perfect in those situations because it's not inundated with the sediment and the mud from flood that clogs all the pores, you know, that are used to actually move the water into the ground. So they are on second surface over there because of the flooding that occurs there on such a regular basis.
So if we take this out of the zoning,
Like just the floodplain.
yeah. And. Yeah. Yeah.
I was in my mind, I was probably going from you were just the floodplain.
Yeah, so it's a minimal area, I'm assuming, in the entire township. That, meaning that have already used this material. So my concern is for areas that have, or owners that have already used this material, they had to add on another 200 square feet of this material, say they got approval to do that, they could not use the same material and get credit.
They could, they would just need a special extension from the zoning hearing board, which they're gonna need anyway for, work in the floodplain.
So floodplain, this is only for the floodplain.
What's the material?
Pervious mechanical. It looks just like, yeah.
Is that what they call it? Pervious macadam?
So the water goes.
A lot of pores, just a lot of water.
Other types of impervious surfaces that people would use there other than that?
Pervious.
Other pervious surfaces?
Impervious.
Yes, they could use regular macadam.
Other surfaces that allow the water to get to
Other pervious surface.
pervious, sorry. Yeah.
Yes, so originally there were the blocks down at the cove.
Yeah, exactly.
And those failed almost instantly upon flooding. So those were all torn out and the pervious macadam was put in, and with the first flood, they went in with backhoes to pull the sediment out. Well, that just spread it through all the pores. And then you actually have to suck out the material from the pores of the pervious macadam in order for it to continue to function properly.
And down there, every week, as that place floods, holy cow.
Well, this year's been particularly dry.
Yeah. It's working perfect this year. There's no rain.
On a regular basis there.
You get all the food spoilage now.
Okay, all right, keep going, Carl.
Number 11, or we're proposing to change the parking spaces for an office use from 1 per 1,000 square feet to 3 per 1,000 square feet. We most recently saw this comment about the Clark sketch plan, the proposed office space over here. You can fit a lot of people in 1,000 square feet in an office setting. So we think that 3 spaces is more appropriate than.
Is it possible on our parking requirements to put a range that would be in our acceptable range, as opposed to saying it's 1 or 3, 1 to 3? And that basically doesn't trigger the 125% has to come before us clause.
We could, and that's very similar to the way the ITE, the International Transportation Engineers manual kind of does it. It gives you a range or a certain percentile. If you're within that 85th percentile, you're fine. When you go over that, then you need water to move the flood. So that is.
Yeah, you might as well just make it 1 then, because
Well, people will go that direction, you're saying.
the only reason or the only time they would need relief would be if they were going less than one.
Is there? I'm always intrigued by parking because I don't know if I've ever seen gone to a parking lot and went, wow, there's just no place for people to park. I mean, in the 90s, you'd go to maybe Park City and at Christmas time, you'd have that. You know, I don't know. I'm just not quite sure. Almost seems like parking and the 21st century just are not agreeing with each other. Like,
I mean, I appreciate having to have someone defend why they're going over. Makes them do a little bit of work because the default's going to be if you're expanding and shut. Stormwater basically incentivizes people to put as much firm surface down as possible, as much as they can get away. If they're going to go in there, they're going to put as much down as they can. And that gives them credit for future expansions. So making them do a little work to go above that, I think we're at the right point. So yeah, I think 3 per 1,000 makes it good, but also if someone can get away with 1, it should be clear that, oh, I can just do 1. That's fine too. Because we don't require board exception if they're going below the 3. But
Be a variance.
You go to the zoning area.
so there could be some offices where you're going to want, 1,000.
In the zoning ordinance that allows you to show that you meet the ITE for that particular use, and you can use that.
An outlet for someone to say, hey.
Well, they justify based on some other professional study.
It's just more the smaller parcels, like a small 1,000 square foot or 2,000 square foot office building may not have, the ITE.
We don't
I
have.
put in a range would be my recommendation.
Down to number 20, Article 23, open space for manufactured home park. We only saw him have just one example of this where, I believe it was the High property where, what we're putting here is that open space has to be open space. It can't be space that's between homes, on the side yards, can't piecemeal it here and there to get your open space continuous area. Has to be an actual dedicated open space area. Can't piecemeal like in between, homes and such. Can't be front yards, backyards, side yards. That's not, I think we would all agree that it's not open space, or that's not what we're.
For development like the Rainier Flory Park, where you have those sort of chunks of apartment homes, does the space in between those buildings count as open space? If you were to do an R2 development?
To admit I wasn't around when those were.
Neither.
Any apartment building.
Also,
All of the buildings, the open space in between the buildings considered open space. Often they put a trail going through it.
Yeah, but we have to show how it's being used as open space, but I guess as it's written now, that could be considered open space, yes.
This is just for manufactured parks, this.
Right.
So there was actually planned recreational facilities. There was the tennis courts at where now the pool is, and then there were basketball courts.
There are a variety of designated open
planned recreational areas that would have counted towards open space.
Right. When we did Ambleside, I think that was the last one we did. Was the open space requirement met by all the green between their 6, 7 buildings?
No, they gave a fee in lieu of. Yeah, what Colin is referring to is when the 92 units came in with Yoder Ash, they used a strip of land that was essentially a stormwater swale as their open space. And we said, well, how is this usable open space for your residents? And they said, well, we're putting in the trail. We said, that's fantastic, but there's no passive recreation area besides the backyard. You know, so then there was a very small piece, and I don't remember the exact size, but small, next to the rental office, you know, that they were counting as well. And they just added up these disjointed pieces to make their 10% for that particular development.
I'm only raised that to say, as long as it's the same treatment is there for what we're doing with another high density residential development, fine with it.
Yeah, just being consistent.
Going back up real quick, the article number 13, you had contractor storage parking requirements.
One space per employee, at the site. Yeah, currently, I don't believe there's any. I don't have it in front of me, but I don't think there's any space required per employee at the site currently.
I don't think there is either.
And typically, we've seen that there's at least a few employees at these sites, or at least guys coming, bring people to pick stuff up. That was.
So when you say employee on site, is that someone who's they're working on the site all day, or someone who's coming and picking up? Because you could have 20 employees coming and going throughout the day.
Right. I believe this is more geared to the person that works on all day.
So if there are 5 or 8 employees who come pick up, fill their truck and then leave, but there are 3 that stay in the office all day long, you're talking about 3 spots then.
Correct.
If there's, but you can have contractor storage yard without having a structure, like a office space with a bathroom and a kitchen.
It could just be a yard, essentially, fenced yard with stuff. In that case, if there's employee, there's need a spot. If not, you're right, it doesn't have to be a structure.
So
I don't believe we need a parking space if there's no structure. Otherwise, they gotta go to the bathroom. If they're building something where there's a toilet and a lunchroom, then we should come with a building space. But if there's no building space for the employee to go into to work.
So if it's worded as such that there's no employees on the site, then you don't need a parking space. You don't necessarily have to attach that to whether there's a building.
there's no one that works on the site. And you need to have a parking space.
Usually it's just gravel. They're not marking a parking space. If there's no room to put their vehicle in there, they can't get in. It just seems a little redundant.
I guess we're saying there's no standard right now at all for contractor storage yards.
There's no parking.
There are places where we have contractor storage operations that need some parking spaces. Because there are employees who stay on the site and work there.
Where they parking it.
Sometimes they're parking off-site. That one that I'm thinking of now, that they have a lot of people that park off-site.
In Ramos.
Off-site, but in some other parking area, right?
Yes.
That's a legal parking area.
Well, off-site parking you're supposed to get approvals for.
I'm just looking at approvals.
Going here.
So if you park on it at a neighbor's, so if you have one building and you park at the neighbor's lot and they let you park there, you have to get the zoning board to approve that.
Typically, because you're supposed to have off-street parking provided for your use on your property. But there is that alternative that in a situation where it makes sense, they could get the approval to have offsite.
If there's any legal street parking.
On this one. Contractor storage or storage me. Like, take me through contractor. Who are we talking about? A contractor business, a contractor working somewhere? What are we talking about?
Contractor business
Business.
typically have employees who are coming to the site, picking up materials,
Yeah.
and moving to a job site somewhere else to do their work. So could have office personnel
Yeah.
who are on that site working all the time, and right now the ordinance doesn't have any requirement to have parking spaces for those people. Those employees.
So anyone who doesn't have it going forward.
They're grandfathered if they exist now.
The word storage was throwing me off. Is it just parking spot?
Somebody may have hardscaping business. They store mulch and sand and block on site, heavy equipment, machinery, things like that,
So you need one space per employee.
on site.
It stays there. It basically stays at that.
That's where it gets a little, if it's just who's on site, you could have 4 guys in a truck roll in to work. So if you're building a whole bunch of concrete forms to get ready to take off site, you're gonna work there to put them together. But it's to me, it's one of, if you actually have employees that are working on site all the time, they're not on site the whole time because they've got to go eat, go to the bathroom.
Building, which then has other.
OSHA requirements are kicking in well before our zoning. Not following this either, but.
Number 21, Article 23, principal use permitted combination. Currently, it must be served by, those uses must be served by public sewer and water. We're gonna allow on-lot systems if it's shown that they're capable for those uses.
What's 23,590 D2 and D3? Well,
Those are just the section numbers that.
yeah, but what is it?
D2 is public sewer, and I believe D3 is.
Oh.
They have split out.
Yeah.
Off-street parking drive-through service lane, what's the current length requirement, or do we have one? Number 14.
I don't believe that we currently have one.
The problem is we have it for certain uses and not others.
What are other typical length uses? Is that for like a Popeyes or a car wash or a Jiffy Lube type thing?
I believe a convenience or two, if they have a drive, it has to be at least 100 feet.
If you have like an oil change place, would that still be 100 feet?
It would depend if that's how I would consider that as a drive through versus service. Automobile service, yeah, I'm not sure that means if a drive through.
Like the Jiffy Lube down on Lincoln Highway, they actually have places to park the vehicles.
I'm just saying there's other ones, like there's one of it, Eden, that's more drive through. It's a quick in and out. You sit in your car and they change your oil and it zoom back out. I'm just trying to think of what other cases do I know that have vehicle service lanes that you don't need 100 feet on. 100 feet makes sense for most things where you're queuing up, but for things that are lower volume.
Else, Colin?
A couple more.
Okay.
Number 31, Article 25. I've seen this one quite a few times already. If you get a variance approved from the zoning hearing board, you have 6 months to obtain a permit. It's just not enough time between getting the written decision and then get to go through lane development. It's not enough time, and quite frankly, maybe a year's not even enough time, but we want to make that consistent with currently what the special exception timeframe is, which is 1 year. So the vote be 1 year. We've seen a few times where people got come in and get an extension of that 6 month time period. It's just,
It's good.
yeah.
Like, sounds customer friendly and consistent.
The last one I have, number 33, anywhere in the zoning ordinance where it refers to the Uniform Construction Code, the International Building Code, we're going to remove that and just put currently enforced building code requirement for very often. Let's try to keep up with them, we'll just put stuff, more general there that'll cover it.
Okay,
So if there's any additional comment, feel free to email me or let me know or. Thank you.
yeah, always appreciate it.
Our plan would be to put together an amendment to the zoning ordinance and run that through the normal process.
Oh, thanks for sticking around today. Okay, action 7A, appointment of township representatives to Land Bank Advisory Committee. Oh,
The board will remember you entered into a 3-party agreement to create the land bank agreement with the redevelopment authority and the school. And that agreement will also there to be a committee set up, representatives from the township and the school district to work with staff at the redevelopment authority to identify and work through the process of redevelopment of properties that fit into the land bank. So I'm suggesting that township for East St. Peter's representatives be Colin and Tara, and that the board take action to.
is there a motion?
Approve Colin, Tara, township representatives to the land bank advisory committee.
Motion by Proctor, second by Mike. Questions? Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. 7B, a revision to the tow policy tow rates, 2018.
Yes.
Last time we did those. Oh,
I
okay.
don't know if Mike and Roger are familiar with this, but the non-preference tow policy is used by the police officers in circumstances where they're dealing with a crash or a disabled vehicle that needs to be towed, and the operator or the owner has no preference as to who tows it. So we have tow operators that are on a list of tow operators maintained by the police department. And so that list rotates and they go through those providers on that rotating basis. And part of the arrangement with them is that their rates are based upon this policy for those services that are provided related for the tow and other related services. So candidly, the main reason for that is that prior to having a policy like this, tow operators charged what they charged, and unhappy owners accused the township of being involved in that. And so this was the way to resolve that, and the tow operators have felt that it works as well. So the only thing that would be changing in the policy, as you have a copy of it, is the rates that are on the third page of the document. And these rates, as I indicated in the memo, haven't been changed since 2018. So it's the operators are saying, you know, things have changed since then, and we need to update those rates in order to fit current conditions.
Is there a motion?
accept the revision to the tow policy regarding the tow rates as presented.
Right. Okay, motion by Mike, second by Ethan. Questions?
Washington, the administration will be applied on every federal.
Typically, yes.
Okay. All right, those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. 7C, an ordinance in reference to the change to the police pension plan. Ralph.
So this change was negotiated with the Police Officers Association, and it took effect at the beginning of this year. It hasn't impacted any of the officers involved. It essentially changes the benefit structure for the newer officers. There have been separate tiers over the years created for the benefits. So this would make it uniform for everybody now at 50 years of age, 25 years of service. And that's the purpose of the change.
Motion to approve the ordinance regarding change in the police pension plan. Making a uniform plan for those at 50 years of age and 25 years of service.
Second? And motion by Ed, second by Roger. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, the motion carries. 7D, revised 2024 police pension plan minimum municipal obligation calculation.
Somewhat related to the change in the ordinance, the actuary had not been aware of the changes to be implemented, so change to the related cost of the plan, and that's reflected in this updated MMO calculation. You adopted the MMO calculation back in September, and
Ralph, I've been around for 12 years. And I always find it interesting when I see things that, the public just doesn't ever recognize, or sometimes they just don't recognize that your tax dollars are going to all kinds of things, so state tax dollars or estimated state aid, right?
comes from what's called foreign liability,
Foreign insurance or something?
foreign casualty insurance agreements.
Yeah, good. FCIP or something. So remind me again, it's if an out of state insurance company does business in Pennsylvania, they have to charge their policy holders a certain.
There's some portion of that premium
Yeah.
that goes into the state offers and then is distributed as data.
Darn, man, that is a complicated one. Yeah. Anyway, as I read this Sunday afternoon, I looked at it, like, what do the taxpayers want to look for? And I got to that $404,075. I thought, wait a second, isn't that state tax dollars? But I forgot about the foreign insurance,
Casualty insurance.
foreign casualty insurance premiums. Okay.
And the other side of that is the foreign fire insurance.
That's right.
Goes to the Relief Association.
Okay, man, you're good. You've been doing this for 35 years, Ralph.
More than that.
Okay, so the township's minimum municipal obligation, our commitment from township taxpayers in 2024 would be $78,824, correct?
Assuming that we get that amount of state aid. So the purpose of the MMO calculation is indicating how much has to go into the plan. So that's $482,900 has to go into the plan. And then, and that's actually after the officers' contribution, payroll contributions. So yes, that's the amount remaining, assuming we get that amount of state aid.
Make motion to accept the 2024 calculation for the minimum municipal obligation as presented.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Mike. Questions? Was closed. 7E. We need to authorize the 2024 budget so that the public can inspect it. And that has to be out there, Ralph. What is it? 20 days prior to adoption, correct? 20 days. Okay. And Ralph, that has to be presented to the public. It has to be advertised in newspaper of public circulation or general circulation. Back in the 90s, when there's something called the Central Penn Business Journal, there was a discussion. LIMC, actually, I think we even lobbied hard for that or something. You know, that could be. So what is the paper of general circulation? LNP?
LMP, that's it.
Pretty sure LMP tried to sue.
Oh, I know they did. Yeah.
Yeah, Central Penn claimed for a period of time that they were a newspaper general circulation that was the deed. And they've changed all their practices now, so they're not even claiming to be that anymore.
Does, I guess, not having it on a website and social media, that does not count as public exposure, huh?
Not under the law at this point.
No, I get it.
A lot of discussions up in Harrisburg about changing those and updating them to more better methods of communication, but that haven't changed.
All right. So we need to authorize staff for a motion.
Is now the appropriate time, or maybe after a motion is made to discuss?
Yes, if there's going to be a change to the revenue generated by real estate taxes, then yes, I would suggest we have that.
Good. Ethan, go ahead.
Initial thoughts, love to hear the rest of the board's thoughts as well. Looking forward, it looks like we're fine for this year, but we're gonna need individual revenues in the next 3 to 5 years. And I'm in favor of slowly moving that number up as opposed to making a big change 3 years from now. More in line with how most school districts adjust their funding, because your costs are going to be, by their very nature, rising at a fast rate, and your real estate values are changing. So my recommendation would be start with say 3% increase off the millage up to 1.957, and then look at doing that probably every year or two for the next several years.
I agree.
My thoughts.
Yeah, I think we've seen what we're deficit spending. We've got to do something about it. We have a lot of fixed costs. So doing something gradual is the way to go. We've seen when that doesn't happen, we get hit with a higher rate later.
And we supervisors, we're only in control of X percentage of the numbers anyways. A lot of these are fixed contractual upgrades and things like that. So, yeah, I'm taking big bites at a time. One big bite. I mean, we have an excellent police department. I mean, we have costs, employee costs. John, you're hiring Ethan, you're hiring employees and things like this. They're these costs.
Healthcare expenses up 8%.
Care, just competitive market rates to get people to jump from job A to job B. So it's all costs that, well, you know, we can afford one or two of them, but when this goes, you know, now we're almost into a year and a half of these additional costs. You know, we have already a good please, they're eligible for retirement, things like that. So, I mean, all those costs just add up.
your point, Roger, we have evidence now through surveys that our citizens are very happy with the services we're providing. Although we have seen from our preliminary housing study that there's a majority of people working here, and to do all we can to have a place that people want to live, housing stock notwithstanding, but yeah, I agree with Ethan.
Yeah, absolutely. Rather think small increases over the next couple of years than, be in a bad position where we have limited money in the bank and we have to then raise at a much more substantial point, 10-12%. I don't want to be there.
Or cut services, I mean, they're
Correct. Yeah.
and there are some things, maybe there might be wishes or desires to do some things. Okay, yeah, you have to, maybe tighten up on some of those things, but as Roger's suggesting, I know Ethan's going in that same direction. You just need to be able to provide a consistent level of service to the public on these things, and those day-to-day, year-to-year services with a gradual cost. So I'm really, really very encouraged to hear the board unanimous on this, seeing the same, seeing the same needs and vision going forward. Obviously, this is the last budget I will vote on, and we have tried during COVID. We were cognizant of some of the issues that the public was facing. We had businesses that came forward and wanted to talk with us about forgiveness of some bills, and I think we did the right thing. We crossed the board. Everyone got a little bit of a discount there, but then we have to come back around, and those expenses are still here. So if we didn't handle our finances correctly, those kind of things just metastasize and become problems. No, I appreciate it. Thanks, Ethan, for articulating it in the way that you did, which is, let's take this, gradually each year, and let's be wise about putting in place a plan. So the proposal is for what, Ethan?
So I'll make a motion to approve the advertisement of the budget as presented with an increase in the millage rate 1.957 mils.
Do you have a question?
Hold on. There's a motion on the table. So is there a second?
No. Second.
Okay, so motion's on the table by Ethan, second by Corey. Yes, discussion. Go ahead.
Did you get any feedback about any expenses that potentially could be cut in the budget, in the preliminary budget?
No, we did not.
Is there something specific you were?
Yeah, I mean, there was, and I don't have information from me, but things around the branding project. I thought maybe it was $100,000. I know, Ethan, you have it up.
Yes, you did. I wasn't thinking of the TIF.
Yeah.
I was thinking more.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Any general operation.
General fund?
General fund. Yeah, general operations, general fund. Any feedback you received from anyone? I was hoping someone else would have something, but yeah, I mean, it looks.
There's a couple little things here and there, and we have the opportunity to adjust down basically within 10% of the budget, roughly. So if we find some little things that we can tweak here and there, we can do that before we adopt the budget. But this is to advertise. So there's a little time if we want to adjust, but there was nothing big that jumped out when I went through.
Agreed.
I was thinking of the same, in terms of parks and new things in Park Gibbons Park, is another new problem. We have so many projects that we're working on that we're in the thick of, and you can't turn back now. We've got money's coming in from, government sources. We're in agreements, so I would just like us to see, looking at 2024, that our departments are really looking at that very closely. as we go. We just shouldn't put it all on the back of increases in taxes, even incrementally. You know, what else can we really look at that is part of that amount that we can't control, which percentage wise, I don't know, Roger, we had talked about the 30%. We can.
Yes, is that, am I using the right percentage?
It's probably more like 25-30%.
Personality.
Right.
Let's see, maybe.
So, you know, I think, you know, just caution going ahead, looking at capital needs and things like this, equipment and things like that are, I mean, are those in line with the township size? I mean, are we buying the equipment or are we renting equipment and things like that? I mean, Charlie's on top of that. He probably knows what he needs back there, but I think we're in a budget cycle that we really have to see what's going on.
Yeah, I do have to say that I think the way our staff maintains the equipment that they have lengthens the life of that equipment, and we get good quality value service out of those pieces. But when they do reach the end of life, you know, it's time to replace them, and we do have a couple of those pieces that fall into
In our fire equipment, you know, to the 4 fire companies, I mean, those costs are going through the roof. So, I mean, that's all part of this 30% that 25% that we can control. So how do we, you know, how do we monitor those expenses going forward? Because they're not going to come back.
It's nice to see the ESC has established, what, 2013, we did the last one. And now they're gathering again, you know, a subcommittee to get together and review where are we going with our apparatus, where are we going with our expenditures. I think it's speaking to you, Rogers, you know, we've got the community engaged in this and the board should continue to set the direction that says, you know, look at this, sharpen your pencils.
So we as supervisors, we need good talking points because somebody's going to say with a 3% increase, you know, we need these talking points that we can say, you know, fire equipment, police protection, and things like that.
I was gonna get this for
Healthcare expenses.
the first one I think ought to be that the rate hasn't changed since 2019. Right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
we can get you additional talking points.
And inflation certainly has.
Yeah.
Inflation has-
For 4 years without touching it and inflation at the rate that
I do hear from folks that ask about projects. They ask about things, the Strasburg Pike to Oakview Road project, 2 million, I guess we have 1 million. But you can't, the quality of life and, you know, improvement type of, you know, I'm not there in the beginning when those are proposed and how they come to us, but you know, they're there. You can't turn back on that now. And you do, you know, we have a township that's very vibrant, it's very unique in all of the economic activity we have and the way people live in our community without a town, really, without even a village, but areas that, you know, folks live in and might call some of them villages, but you know, that's where if I'm talking to somebody about it and they look at the cost of some of those, they do question it sometimes.
Thanks, everybody. Good points. Really good decision making. So, okay, there's a motion on the table for me. Second, Corey. Yeah. The motion is to advertise the budget as presented with a millage rate of, say it again, Ethan. 0.9.
1.957.
0.95. Okay, all right. Those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Ralph, manager's report.
Yes, just wanted to provide the board with some information on some things that the staff have been participating in. First item was the roof area boundaries update that the county planning department has been working on and continues to work on. There participating in the regional meetings that they've had, where they've been going over the process that they're using. Just recently got information from them. Sort of tweak to the urban growth boundaries or areas that they're looking at, and they want us on those, and we'll be looking at those as well. Feedback. My expectation is that you're probably looking at toward the end of 2024, beginning of 2025, when they'll actually be asked to take an action to modify the existing urban growth area or urban growth boundary, which then we will match up with our efforts and what we're looking at with a new comprehensive plan for the township. So
How does that work in terms of how it was established before? Are we voting on that are within our township, or we?
it's I guess they're calling it again the cross acceptance process, which they're going to come up with an area. The county, through the county commissioners, will adopt those areas countywide, and then individual municipalities will be asked to adopt their own individual municipal urban growth area.
So this is the process of the feedback that the county's going to get to make those decisions.
Yes, and it'll come more as a recommendation than as a mandate, if you will, because the county can't really mandate something like that. So ultimately, it is up to the board of supervisors to decide what it will be for East Lampeter.
Along with that was the buildable lands and the reclassification of those lands within the urban growth area, that is what was used by the housing consultant to determine buildable land. And if you look through that information, you'll see that some of the imagery was 2018 that they used. And therefore, I think that gets to the question of why there weren't the acreages in some of the zoning districts, because they were looking at aerial photos that were slightly older and may not have seen the demolition that we currently see out there on Beacon Highway.
To get the actual map that they're,
Yes,
there was a button that said open maps, but it's not a clickable link.
it wasn't working. That's correct. It will not be functioning until the final meeting is held, is what I understand.
You can't give it draft.
Great, go. Let's get feedback and then show you the map at the last meeting. Then I can zoom in on their high level map as close as I can, but doesn't look too many changes in East Lampeter. But
I think we ruled out a number of changes in the first go around. To the minor.
We're achieving closer to plan on the density or master plan. We're seeing as the trend in the rest of the county.
I agree. Yeah. If there are questions along the way, please, reach out to the.
Thank you.
Just
Yes, please do. Yep.
and the West Lampeter representative related to the project they're working on. Provided you the sort of very initial preliminary conceptual presentation that we saw in that meeting. They were going to propose a roundabout at that intersection to replace the current four-way stop condition. And they call it elliptical, or
Yes, there's actually a circle or an elliptical version.
so two options they're looking at. I think the elliptical version, which it's hard to see much difference, but there's a little bit of difference, is the one that they seem to prefer at this point. The improvements will stretch east on Rockville Road, which is Township Road. Beyond the existing culvert, small stream. Will be involved, at least in that aspect. It, you know, from staff perspective, I think. And the images that can identify in this document roundabout is the better solution, which I think makes sense. In terms of cutting down on the number of conflict points and reducing severe types of crashes. So, yeah, probably still 3 or 4 years away from this actually being put on the ground.
Yep, yeah,
But it's in the process.
that's great.
And the last thing I wanted to mention was the board that authorized us to submit an application to PennDOT. That was submitted, so applications again, and wait for an answer there, which is sort of parallel request to the request that you made back in the summer for CFA funding. Or there's a pathway. Waiting on the decision there. The CFA is scheduled to meet according to their website on the 21st. They canceled their last 3 or 4 meetings. So
Because of no business.
this director's not doing anything to me.
Well, that makes sense. Mighty hands out there.
So, you know,
Any word from our neighboring municipalities about project and the public, you know, publicity we got for it and interest in coming forward and stepping in and helping out, or Upper Lake?
we get an offer from them to provide us with a letter of support, which they did.
Okay, good. Well, that's good.
That's positive.
We asked our representatives and neighboring representatives for letters of support.
Our state representatives?
Senators, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. It's Upper Lake Conference, yeah. Okay. All right. Is that it? That's it for me. Okay. There a motion to adjourn, Ethan? Second by Corey. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all. Read that.